Good morning, everybody. My name is Stephanie DeStasio.
And I'm Latoya Dixon, and we're here to talk to you about how the South Carolina Department of Education is embracing a startup culture.
And more importantly, how this cultural shift is helping the Department of Education move from a mindset of monitoring to actually mentoring schools and districts. Using this essential question, we are really beginning to look at ways that outside of traditional bureaucratic organizations, how do other organizations function? We're trying to do things differently. We're starting that by working to increase our cross-functionality, and more specifically, we are breaking down our siloed culture that has existed for quite some time and trying to ensure that we have really robust lateral communication.
So our goal is to model those practices that we want to see in schools and districts. So we're actively working to create a culture that will allow us to iterate quickly and thereby increase the quality and effectiveness of the support we provide. But it starts with a strong leader, and so our state superintendent, Molly Spearman, has charged us with her vision and a strong set of goals. She asked us to really reimagine our roles, to move from thinking of ourselves as directors to connectors, to become innovative about long-standing challenges and problems that South Carolina has faced, and to repurpose resources.
She's also asked us to truly challenge the status quo in teaching and learning in our state. And by that, she's asking us to transform our practices, both in the classroom and at the Department of Education. So she's asked us to embrace the diversity of experience that exists in our state and find new pathways for students to be able to achieve the profile of the South Carolina graduate. As you are beginning to hear, the roles and responsibilities in our Department of Education are beginning to shift. We are very fortunate that we have this profile of a South Carolina graduate. It came out of a grassroots effort of superintendents in our state back in 2011. It was then endorsed by business and community leaders across the state. And in 2012, our legislature adopted it, and it is now in regulation in South Carolina that all students are working to achieve this profile of the South Carolina graduate. It's truly our North Star. And therefore, our state superintendent has said, we now have to really design and deliver high quality professional learning for our teachers and our leaders in our schools so that every educator in our state is equipped to make sure that every child in our state can achieve this profile.
But we know professional learning won't be enough. So the question is, how do we make this a reality for every student in our state? To increase our effectiveness, we're doing things like blurring hierarchical roles. We're taking an assets-based approach rather than a deficit model. We've formed a cross-agency collaborative working group teams, and our goal is to prioritize our efforts to really build a culture of awareness and to be able to solve common problems of practice. Essentially, what we're working to do is to scale and spread those things that are working and getting results.
So, for example, we had a school recently that uses a flexible modular schedule, and they're in one of our personalized learning competency-based education cohorts, and they let us know that the state reporting system for chronic absenteeism wasn't quite meeting their needs and wasn't meshing with their schedule for a flexible learning environment. And rather than doing what might be done in other states, and probably in ours in the past, of asking that school to fix that problem with Band-Aids and barbed wire, we turned that question on ourselves, used one of those working groups and said, what might we need to do differently from the state's perspective to make this work for you, the school? We're asking you to be innovative, you're trying to be innovative, so how do we change to support that innovation? So that working group made sure to understand the problem firsthand from schools who are experiencing the problem, really listened with an open mindset, and then are in the process right now of making changes to that state system so that it is more aligned to the innovation we're asking schools to be able to introduce. And so this open collaboration, it's part of our strategy to develop a systems approach to personalized learning and competency-based education in our state.
So you might be asking, a startup culture at a State Department of Education, how is that really working? Or is it working? The answer is yes. The way we got 84% of our low-performing schools off the list is by connecting them with offices to provide comprehensive support to address their unique and specific targeted needs. We're working to make sure that each time we work with schools that we're contextualizing the problems that they're facing and really offering them an opportunity to work with us in a very specified and focused manner.
That's right. And so how did we increase the number of schools to 210% engaging with the State Department of Education on personalized learning? Well, quite simply, by making sure that that professional learning was personalized for those school teams, for those educators. It was meaningful, it was job embedded, and they saw results. They saw their practices being able to change in their schools, and they spread the word for us. And so more schools and more educators continue to come to the table.
So the profile belongs to everyone in our state, not just educators. And we know that we have to design career and technical education that meets the needs for our future. And so in doing that, we've been able to increase the number of students earning a nationally endorsed industry credential before they graduate from high school. That alone is evidence of the cooperation and collaboration that exists between educators, the business community, and all the citizens of South Carolina.
So as you can see, we are truly committed to moving from simply monitoring to actually mentoring schools and districts in the state of South Carolina. It truly is a new day. We would love to tell you many more stories and a lot more detail about our journey. So if you have any questions or if you want connections with schools in South Carolina and want to see for yourself the work, please reach out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. It's fair warning, I've tried this multiple times. I've never hit 7 minutes. This morning is going to be the first time I'm successful at this. Yeah. I have the glorious opportunity today to talk to you about the super sexy topic of the infrastructure of technology. I'm going to make you care by the end of this session. So my name is Nicolas Nam. I'm the Director of 21st Century Learning from Lindsay Unified School District. In 2007, we gathered as a community. We brought our parents, educators, administrators, business owners, and everybody to come up with our strategic design that gave us our mission, our vision, our values. And they came up with statements like this: every learner has access to a computer and the internet at school and at home. To put it into context, 2 months later, the first iPhone came out. The first iPhone came out. So our parents were reaching, and they were pushing us hard, because even then they were saying, we want this now, which seemed baffling at the time. In a district in the middle of the Central Valley, somewhere between LA and San Francisco, to give you context, and amongst a bunch of cornfields and agricultural land, we have 4,200 learners. We have approximately 50% ELs. Our parents' education level around 5th grade, and our learners receive 100% free and reduced lunch. Raise your hand, please, if you have internet in your home. Keep them up high. Okay. Keep it up if your internet is free. Just making sure, because I wanted to know the provider you were using. So what's the point here? So in 2014, the US Census did a study. They found that everybody making over $100,000, you are 90% likely to have internet in your home. $25,000, you were 48% likely to have internet at your home. But big deal, except this is how many of our kids receive free and reduced lunch, which meant half of our learners didn't receive internet inside their home. So you go through your classrooms and tell me who deserves a book or a pencil or a pen, but only give them to half your kids. And then you tell me that you're okay with that. Because we're not okay with that. We're talking about equity as an issue in Lindsay. This became an issue. But whose fault was it? It was our fault, right? Because we wanted to become one-to-one. And we touted that. We became one-to-one in 2014. These are the pictures that happened. Our kids were super excited. You know why they were excited? Because they were at school where they had internet. And when they went home, they couldn't use the devices. And so as a site principal, I would walk out at 6 or 6:30 or 7, of course, at 5. And I would close my door and I would be surrounded by kids by my front office using the Wi-Fi every single day. And so the question that we were left wondering is, how did we just expand an equity gap by giving our learners devices? All of a sudden, all learners were not accessing information the same. That became a problem for us. I'm going to catch you up on 6 years worth of research and all the problems in 3 minutes and 4 minutes. So here we go. This is the age where internet is not luxury. Internet is a need, a basic need for the type of learning that we were asking our learners to do. So we tried these solutions, right? Netbooks on a cellular network, too slow. Not enough bandwidth. So then we got serious. Okay, let's build an actual phase. Phase 1, here's phase 1. We tried for 40 of our learners to place an antenna somewhere in town and send signals to their home, okay? Successful, wonderful. We sent the signals, there they are, on a home, wonderful. 40 learners, remember I've got 4,200, okay? Phase 2, this has got to get bigger. One of the barriers that we faced, there's a city ordinance that says you can't hang satellites and antennas anywhere in the city, and it's from somewhere back in the Stone Ages. So we had to go to the city and say, we need that done away with because this is going to be a problem. And they said, okay. Problem number 2, we didn't have anywhere to put the antenna. So since we were at the city, hey, can we hang these things on your really high buildings? Because in Lindsay, there's not many high buildings. And they said yes. So we started to work together and we put our antenna not just on the city buildings, but also on staff homes, on board members' homes, on any homes that would allow us to, because the concept here was we would send a signal to their home, and then those homes would send signals out to the homes around them, thus creating a beautiful system, right? Everything is so great until you implement it. So here's our antenna. Here's the initial draft. No joke, this is what it looked like. We were like, okay, we're going to put 400 point-to-point antennas all over the town, and we're going to have everybody covered. It sounded like the best idea, and that's because nobody else was trying it. Here's where we are now. We have 1,200 point-to-point antennas across the city of Lindsay to service our learners inside their homes. And why did we have to do that? Because materials in the homes in Lindsay are unpredictable. Some of our walls are built with solid concrete. They're not just what we assumed they are, which is insulation and framing and all of that kind of stuff. The signal was too weak, and we're expecting 4 megabytes per second to go into each of our devices so they can stream the technology that they need to stream, and it wasn't happening. And so we thought we were done. We were super excited, and then we have these families that are far on farms and behind some hills. And so how do we service them? Because our signal wasn't strong enough to get out to them, we called on these partners and we said, help us come up with a solution, and we did. We came up with a 4G LTE solution so they have stronger antennas, and we hang those things on the highest thing that we can find. Still a problem. We have apartment managers that said you can't do this. I'm not willing to pay the 25 cents a month in energy that it's going to cost us to provide all the kids. So clearly they were missing the point. They need to be here. So we had to come up with that solution. We came up with a MiFi device. So now we have MiFi devices for the apartment buildings where managers aren't allowing us to use those devices. You see a theme here, which is like there's a problem, fix it. There's a problem, fix it. There's a problem, fix it. That's the point. That's the story. Now we have Wi-Fi, MiFi, LTE solutions that are covering the entire school district for our learners free of charge. This is equity towards information. This is something that we should be talking about that we aren't. And so for some reason right now, We're shoveling this under some assumption that everybody's okay and has internet at home, and we're here to say that's not true. It's not okay that we're not talking about it, and we've done something about it, so just come use what we've done. Don't go do it on yourself. I wouldn't be good if I wouldn't throw in data. Here's our data. It's getting better. I promise. It's all here. And here's the last question you're going to have. The startup cost is $1.25 million. On a yearly basis, it's about $70,000. That's $17 a learner for the city of Lindsay, or for the Lindsay Unified School District. Ask me questions. Sorry. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Erin Lessard, and I'm the Director of Differentiation, Operations, and Partnerships at Marie Faring Elementary Middle School. I'll take all the free time. 4 years ago, we had a 7th grade science teacher who was bright, thoughtful, and social justice minded, but ambition alone isn't enough to make a teacher into a warrior. She left after 2 years to become a doctor. Is this what happens to every middle school science teacher who works in a high needs area? They spend a couple of years duking it out until the stress and the pace and the trauma and the sense that their best can never be enough gives them the fodder to write a killer med school essay. I'm here to tell you the story of one teacher and how a student support protocol we've developed in partnership with United Way of Central Maryland has transformed her mindset around meeting student needs. Her mindset has impacted her relationship with students. Her relationship has impacted her planning has impacted her instruction, and her instruction has impacted the academic growth and social emotional well-being of several hundred students in South Baltimore. Ms. V is a second-year middle school science teacher. She has 3 classes of 7th graders and 2 classes of 8th graders. Marie Faring Elementary Middle School is a Title I community, and our kiddos are about 1/3 white, 1/3 black, 1/3 Latinx. Ms. V students are diverse in student background, experience, and demonstrated academic ability. When we ask teachers like Ms. V to know her students so she can plan for their needs, we are making an impossible request. Because we aren't just asking Ms. V, who is a Brown University grad and a Teach for America alum, and she is as intelligent and ambitious as everyone here at this conference, to teach science. We are asking her to make sure that none of our kids fall through the cracks. Middle school teachers are building bridges from elementary school to college and career readiness, and large urban districts like Baltimore have only begun to reckon with the devastating numbers of high school dropouts. The pressure is on for teachers in the middle grades to set students up for success far beyond high school academic prereqs. Ms. V is not equipped, despite her enormous intelligence, empathy, and commitment, to meet her own students' needs. In 2016, we were approached by the education programs team at the United Way of Central Maryland, who proposed a year-long pilot of what they called the On Track for Success program. On Track for Success is built out of research from Dr. Bob Balafon's team at Johns Hopkins University, and the goal is to develop an early warning response system designed to reduce high school dropouts. Research shows that the risk of dropping out of high school can be identified as early as 6th grade. Students with deficits in one or more of the early warning indicator areas of attendance, behavior, and coursework have a 25% chance of graduating from high school. Conversely, if a student can complete 9th grade free of any off-track behaviors, her chance of graduation jumps to 75%. Our idea is simple. We identify off-track students, kiddos showing one or more of the early warning indicators, using specific metrics around the ABCs, and then we've committed our most valuable non-human resource time to bringing together an intentional team of adults to support our students. In biweekly meetings, we develop interventions for these students through a highly structured process. The program also identifies trends and looks for patterns in the data so that the school-based team can address issues and concerns at a global as well as individual level. And a team member serves as a champion for each of the students or a group of students, facilitating check-ins with the team and ensuring that the process is enacted with integrity. So let's see what this looks like on the ground. Delilah began the 2017-18 school year earning low Ds in her 7th grade classes, and her teachers described her as playful and easily distracted. Ms. V had a great relationship with Delilah. She knew that Delilah wanted to gain admission to a competitive Baltimore City high school. Ms. V used this motivator as a hook during their Saturday tutoring sessions, and over the year, Delilah's progress vacillated. One quarter, she was entirely on track with her behavior and coursework, getting some A's, up from her normal C's, but she did end up the year both off track in behavior and academics, because sometimes it takes longer than a year to build habits and see sustained progress. But this year, Delilah came back strong, on track across the board, and she's continued to earn B's and C's into the third academic quarter. On track also allows us to zoom out from individual students and identify group needs and track progress towards resolving obstacles. Early this fall, we noticed in the data an increasing number of academically high-performing 7th grade girls showing up with early warning indicators around attendance and behavior. And anyone who was or knows any 7th grade girls knows that 7th grade is pretty much a beast, but the teachers knew that there was more to it than that. And so they started listening, and they realized that there was a larger need to address. The girls needed a safe space to explore ideas around healthy relationships, career pathways, mental health, and sexuality. So Ms. V connected with Women United, a group of our school's most committed volunteers, and their collaboration blossomed into our monthly middle school girls group. So for an hour after school every second Tuesday, the inner lives of 36th, 7th, and 8th grade girls are the center of our universe. And in addition to the satisfaction of connecting with her students outside of the school day, Ms. V has seen an increase in attendance from several of the girls and significant decreases in behavior. So during her first 2 years as a teacher, when most of her peers are fighting to survive the growing pains of a new career, the stress of a system's expectations, and the fatigue of their own commitment, Ms. V has been helping to build a learning community which sees, supports, and celebrates each of her 140 students. I do want to acknowledge the work that the ed team from the United Way of Central Maryland has done to support this process. They've trained us in the data mining, they've modeled the meeting structure, and they've generously supported our intervention programming. We've worked to institutionalize these processes so they're embedded in our culture of collaboration and support and self-sustaining. We've also modified the model to address the needs of specific student subpopulations like English language learners and gifted students. Our program is scalable, reproducible, and adaptable. As a school, we are playing the long game. We know that not every intervention meets with success, not every meeting feels like a revelation, and not every student makes the shift from off track to on track. But we know that to retain the best teachers, we have to set them up for self-actualization. The on-track program focuses our thinking around individual attention to student data, and we've made the time for collaborative conversations sacred. The results we've seen in moving the needle on students' attendance, behavior, and coursework has allowed our teachers to re-envision themselves as the champions of their own work. And Ms. V has exponentially impacted more students than she could have if she were not part of the On Track for Success team. So for the middle school teachers in our building, this process has begun to make the impossible work feel possible. And we hope that by building adaptable, efficient student support webs like On Track for Success, we can continue to attract teachers like Ms. V and set them up for long-term success and job satisfaction, because she is exactly the kind of teacher warrior our children deserve. Thank you for your attention.
All right, good morning, everyone. I have to say it's incredibly inspiring and humbling just to hear so many things that are going on in education. So to begin, I'm from Arcadia Unified. My name is Greg Xenian. I'm the Chief Strategy and Innovation Officer. In case you're wondering, that is a real job. That's usually the follow-up question, so I'll answer right now. I manage a lot of partnerships, an internal venture fund for our teachers, and really just any of the new big things we're taking on in Arcadia. But today I want to talk about something that may or may not give you hives if you've been in education for any long amount of time, and that is professional development. And to give you an idea about kind of what professional development is, where we've gone as a district, I want to tell you a story about from my early days working in our district. So I came through the technology ranks, not necessarily the classroom, and I was very excited in my first year working in technology that I was going to teach a professional development seminar. You guys can see probably where this is going. I was excited. I was going to share some information with teachers. I had a lot of teacher friends. It was my big opportunity to share some of the things we were doing in our district. So what I did is I emailed my friend who was a teacher in our district and said, "You're coming to my session, right? Like, I'm excited about this. I think you're going to be excited about it. Come join our professional development." Didn't hear back for about half a day, and then I received this. Take it in. Not the inspiring moment we were hoping for. And in talking with more people in our district, this is how people feel about traditional professional development. A Google image search since then has revealed a whole collection of memes around this. And finally, because it feels timely, People don't like traditional professional development. And it doesn't mean it hasn't been useful, doesn't mean some people haven't enjoyed and found it useful, but we realize that we need to do something about engagement around professional development. We happened to be reading the book Drive a number of years ago, and in the book Drive, Daniel Pink says, when you really want to increase engagement, when you really want people to be motivated, there are three things you have to look at. Autonomy, in other words, are people self-directed in their work? Mastery, do they feel like they're progressing towards acquiring necessary skills? And purpose, is it meaningful to them? Do they believe that they're getting on board with what they need to do? So we did a little self-assessment on these traditional professional developments where people sit in a room and a lot of times it's sit and get. And here's what we came up with. Autonomy was low. You will come sit in this room and listen, and that's going to be about it. Mastery was varied. Sometimes you left at the end of the day with an increased skill set. Sometimes you didn't. Sometimes it's somewhere in the middle. So it was really kind of hard to track where that was. And finally, purpose. The purpose was always dictated. We said, when you come to this professional development, you will take this away, and then that's where you're going to be at. So we said there must be another way. And that's where we founded SWAGs, which was Small Working Arcadia Groups. So we pulled a group together and said, okay, what would a new version of professional development look like? What are some of the challenges that we can take on, and what would be helpful? We negotiated 7 half days throughout a year. This speaks towards that ongoing sense of mastery. What we discovered is it's hard to master anything in a day. I'm not sure anyone's really mastered anything in a day. So we spread out these meeting times for people to get together 7 times a year and work on different areas. The topics are actually nominated by educators. So for example, a number of years ago, we realized that we needed to address social emotional learning in a new way, that we needed some character education. So we go out to the district and say, here are the list of topics. And 8 to 10 people said, I really want to take on social emotional learning. And the beautiful thing about that is it's not the people you necessarily expect. You have teachers, but you also have people who are on the counseling side, which is obviously very important. You have people who are in the PE department, which you wouldn't necessarily have thought would be part of that group. We open up for these large vertical teams where people are very engaged in the topics. The group itself decides the trajectory of the group, and we found this to be very interesting. So for years and years in education, we had people coming to us and saying, give us more freedom, give us more freedom. And as a district, we said, this is right. Like, we pay our teachers a lot of money. They're incredibly intelligent, they are well educated, and they care deeply about these kids. Go for it. We know we need something in social emotional learning. Take it and run with it. We got a call about the next day and said, what do you want us to do? And we said, well, no, we want you to decide what to do. I mean, here are kind of the general framework, but what is it that our students need? So from the district administration level, with these teachers, we've allowed them to form the outcomes of the group. The social emotional learning group, the character ed group, did an amazing job, made a recommendation to the district, and now that's a program we have across the entire district. So again, having them form that purpose has been incredibly helpful. Another one, for example, is math pathways. We realized that we really only had a few pathways for kids going through math. So you may have students who are in one of our math classes who just feel stuck. Maybe they were accelerated early, but they need to slow down a little bit. Maybe they missed the boat to jump on, but they're accelerating faster, but there's no way to do that. Our math teachers worked with our administrators through our small working group, and were able to come up with a really, really neat way to do that. So what did we find when we went back and looked at these SWAGs and kind of evaluated where we're at? Well, we discovered that our autonomy is high. We let our teachers self-direct through these groups what they're working on. Robotics, for example, is another one, and they were able to make some recommendations for replacing a decade-old robotics program. And what's really neat about the autonomy piece is we allow our groups to change direction midway through the group. If they decide, hey, we need to change this up. And every year, this group we have that comes together can say we need to focus on different areas. So it's very adaptive. As a district administration, we work with our teachers to say these are the hot topic areas, this is what we're seeing, but it's really the teachers who have that buy-in. Mastery, encouraged and self-paced. We allow teachers to go through this process of finding their own training. If they need a speaker, we'll go out and actually hire a speaker for that group. If they want to do a school visit to another district, in fact, looking around, I think some of our teachers have visited districts who have representatives in this room. So that sense of mastery and building has been absolutely wonderful. And the purpose is owned by the group. I know unions and some of the challenges of negotiating with teacher groups. We experience very little of that because we're co-creating solutions through our small Working Arcadia groups. So really there's no surprises. We've worked on these solutions together and that purpose is co-owned. So finally, I just want to say it's been amazing to let go of that control, to allow teachers to kind of route their own course and to work together as a district. If any of you have questions afterwards, I'd be happy to chat with you. Thank you.